Well, there ain't no coming back from this one, so might as well just go for it.
Thanks, Super ATV. We're about to screw up your stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's try it. Welcome back. Thanks for stopping by the garage again for day 2 of our project, which is taking this 2006 Sportsman Polaris ×2. Baby right here, it's a 500, and that means ×2 has a dump bed, or this folds back into a second seat. But what we want to do is add power steering to it. It didn't come with power steering. There was no option for it. And there's some kits out there for power steering, but nobody makes one for this year, the 2002 and 2007. So our friends at superatv.com hooked us up. They got us a kit, and we're attempting to see if we can fit into this. We know there's going to be some problems. We've seen some other people try this on the comments on the forums. There may be some frame issues, we don't know. Definitely some tank issues. So we got to dive in here today, Dr. Torque and Uncle Jake. We're going to be your host. We're going to see what we can do. We're just kind of unpacking things again from last night to get this ready to roll and see if we can't make it happen. So let's go. Oh, wait. Oh, I almost forgot. Remember, check this out. This is one of the Built for Battle shirts. This is sweet hoodie and this hat. Yeah. And we're going to hook you up, because what superatv.com is going to do is when we get to 100 comments with probably between the 3 videos, I think is what it's going to take to get this done, we're going to do a drawing. And you get to pick one of your choice. There's all kinds of colors and styles. They're super cool. I picked this one out, Built for Battle. I really like it. And probably can't see the back. I better give the camera to Dr. Torque so we can film. But don't forget to enter. And all you got to do to enter is just post a comment. That's it. And when we get to 100, we're going to get you hooked up with one of these. Okay, let's get to work. Okay, the next step now, because we are completed on the disassembly, is now the reassembly. But remember, this doesn't actually fit this machine. So what we're trying to figure out is, what are we going to be up against? One of the questions is, this bracket right here, there's 2 different size motors, and there's also whether it gets installed for a 400 or a 570 and up, because I believe on the 2008 when they changed it, they got rid of the 500s, which this is, and went up to the 570. So if you can see these brackets right here, if you put it on this side, it hits this edge of the motor, or you pull it back over and it goes that way. There's a pretty big difference. So our question is, which side should it be on? Instructions say for the 570, this side and this motor.
Which probably it has to be, because there's going to be bolts going through here.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting because we got a battery in there. So check this out. The battery is right here where this goes. I don't even see how this is going to fit in there. But that's a problem. And then the tank comes down. We test fitted that tank. It's about 3/4 inch up from here and level with the front of this. So now we know the tank comes in about here, but we got a spot to measure from, and about 3/4 off that. So, you know, we think the motor's going to hit the tank or corner of it, but also, how the crap is that going to fit in here? It seems like we may have an issue with the battery placement. That may be our toughest problem. I don't know. So we'll kind of play with this a little bit, and then we'll get back to you on the way it's supposed to go. Okay, so we found our first problem. This isn't even necessarily a problem that you will face, because we discovered that on the 2x, is what they call this, where it has a dump bed and a seat that folds out into the bed, but it's not actually a 2-seater, it's a different version, has the battery relocated. The battery on the standard, or I think the regular 2x, has the battery underneath that left fender. Yeah, and you can see there's plenty of room in there, probably the brackets for it. But in this model, they've moved it up here. And there is no way that motor that needs to sit right here and come way back here is going to work. This battery cannot be where it is. So I think what we're going to do is pull the battery out, and we'll install everything, and then we'll just have to see what room we've got. Be a little challenging, but that's our next step. So we're going to do all that, and then we'll be back with probably the next challenge. But that's okay, we're figuring it out. Okay, back to work. Okay, so this is the battery tray. There's 4 spots. This goes like this. It's on the other side. So you got 1 down the bottom, 2 on this side, and then you have to take loose the oil reserve because it drops down into this, and you can't get it loose without it. So what we may end up doing is cutting this here and here and remounting this so that we can have this mount back for the oil reserve. And then we might have to just reroute the battery to be in the back. We don't know. We're figuring it out. We're figuring it out. We're not going to give up. At least I'm not going to give up. I'm not sure about Dr. Torque, but I'm pretty sure he's going to stick with it too. So we got tons of room in there now.
Look at all that space now.
Look at all that space now. Yeah, Polaris. Polaris, please. Please, Polaris. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to us? So now we're going to drop this in and see if this fits. And this goes brackets up. Look at how easy it is to fit in there now.
It's way more room than we had a minute ago.
So this is the next step. We're going to finish the install. This reuses these same bolts. And it's going to drop right in there, and you just be like a piece of cake. You know what I'm saying? Piece of cake. Okay, back to work. Okay, this part right here is, I don't know if this would be, we call this technical part, but part we got to be careful. We got to do some modification besides the battery moving, but you may not have to do that on yours if your battery isn't up front like ours is. But you're going to have to do this part because this is where it's going to hit the tank. So what we have determined is that this bracket right here is going to hit the tank. This boss is going to hit the tank. Yeah, not bracket, boss. So we got to cut this out. So what we're thinking is cutting right down here. See where this, what'd you call it, that plate or level? We want to stay above that. That seems almost structural. So just above that, and then just cut down like a notch. Like, see how this one's already notched out? And wish it was the right one that was notched out. But that's essentially what we're going to do right here. So I hope this works.
That almost looks like it was done by someone that knows what they're doing.
Shoot.
Like, so not us.
Not us. That's right. All right. So, after a whole ton of messing around, we've got this in. It pretty much needs to be centered. You really don't have much of a choice on that, so there's not much to tell about that. It's just going to come straight out the back. But that means you can tighten these bolts before you go. Now, I will show you this, I guess, because the bracket pivots way more when this is apart than it does when this is on. So if you take a look at how close this bracket is right here to this corner of this motor, that's about where you want to get. You got about a 1/4 inch of play back and forth, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to be fairly close. Right there, that's the big thing I can tell you on that. And then of course this we've got ground down. We don't have to worry about that right now. Now I got to go through and tighten up all the rest of these bolts. Like these brackets, these don't really line up. They're sort of off on both sides, and I don't know whether that's me or the brackets or what. Probably a little both maybe, but the metal should pinch close, if you can see that. Like this metal should start pinching close as I get it. I can sort of shuffle that motor around and gearbox until they're kind of in place. But that's what we're going to try to do next, is get these tight. All right, so this is something you won't have to deal with if you don't have a battery on that front like we do. If you do, then we've got an idea. We're going to separate these two. See how this has been spot welded 3 times? 4 times now. Keeps going up. 4 times right here. We want to separate this piece and mount it back in the 4-wheeler so that the oil tank and the reserve can be just sat right in there, and it's nice and secure. Then we think what we might be able to do maybe is take this and turn it we'll show you when we get into the four-wheeler, but we're gonna drill that out next. Okay, so we got it off. After much drilling, we kind of went a little further than we needed to on a few of these, and we missed one entirely, which is right there. But we got this off, so nice and clean, right? This isn't cut or bent or hacked up. And this we're gonna mount right back down in there, just like it is. So the oil reservoir can mount on this, and then we can try turning this and see if we can mount it. So let's get to work, we'll get back to you. But everything is in, and what we want you to know is before you tighten up all those brackets and things, you really gotta just work this around.
Put this shaft on.
Yeah,
the steering
put the
column
shaft
in,
on, yep.
and make sure it's centered. Because we were tightening and stuff, and then we decided we'd slide that on and see how things looked, and it was off by like at least an inch.
Yeah, you see, so you see this part right here? There's a little divot in the center. That's where it's supposed to be. It was way over here. And so we had to loosen everything back up. So before you tighten everything, sort of shimmy it around, and the motor ended up having to be pretty well back in the center. We ended up not being able to have it over this way as far as we wanted. But again, that only is a factor for the battery, and you gotta have where you gotta have it. So yeah, everything is in and tightened now, but that's our big tip, is sort of shimmy that around. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to see if the gas tank fits before we call it for tonight on the motor where we ground that cut and ground that down. So it's kind of a big deal.
It's as big a deal as me? I'm kind of a big deal.
Okay, out. There's not more stuff here, but what's not lined up? Oh, this dang thing again. Just always in the way. You know what? It's not hitting the. Okay, here's the good news. The part that we cut, totally clear. I got almost a 1/4 inch there, and this side is in all the way. So the part that I'll take that. The part that we worked on is the part that is good. The part that we didn't work on apparently still hits.
Not good.
So I don't know what we're gonna do on that, but we're gonna figure that out another day. The other GoPro's dead. It's dead. Do you hear me?
Oh, is that what that sounds?
Yeah, it's dead.
That doesn't,
It's out of.
it doesn't give you much of a warning.
No, yeah, seconds. So we were totally going to call it tonight. I mean, that's good enough. We've got a lot of problems solved. We've got a couple more to fix. Battery mount. We've got to figure out how to get that in place. But we're going to call it tonight. And we'll come back and we'll see you tomorrow. What's up? It is the next day. There is no Dr. Torque, so Uncle Jake is totally on his own today. But we're going to go back to work on this baby. We got a little bit of adjustments to do on this, so that means I gotta undo all those bolts on the bottom that were a pain in my neck to get out. But we gotta do it right. I do not want, I don't like projects that are done shoddy, you know, or halfway, or you just didn't finish. Like, it just drives me later forever. Drives me later? Drives me crazy. Drive me into later is what it'll do. So we got a bunch of work to do. I got some figuring out and adjustments to do first. So we'll get busy on that. I'll check in once I figured that out, and then we'll tackle the tank later. I've got some ideas on the tank, but I don't know yet what I'm gonna find. So let's get to work. Again. So, as you know, one of our main concerns and challenges that we thought was going to be a problem and turned out to be a problem was the tank and fitting it in there. Now, there's two different size tanks on the 06. There isn't a Touring. Tourings have way bigger tanks, but there's not a Touring. However, it turns out that the 2x with the dump bed and probably the 2x with second seater because they're longer have a bigger tank. This tank is bigger. See how this has a notch right here, this like cutout? On the standard Sportsman, that just goes straight across. This one's actually bigger on the sides, got a few pop outs on both sides and here, which is great, right? It's awesome that they gave you a little more fuel. That's always nice. In this case, it's causing a really big problem because you go back over here. Now that this one clears and this motor moves, like you can slide this like we were showing earlier back and forth. If it's slid all the way over here to give you more room on this side, this one clears, but now you hit this corner bracket and this bolt. However, if you slide this over, as far as we'll go, you still get room here, which is awesome. So we like way more than cleared this side. But then the problem is this starts pushing up on the bottom of the tank. So now these don't hit, which is really great because that's like a brace right there. But this now is in the way. So you can see that notch, it kind of comes up at an angle right there. I'm gonna cut this down and then cut it over and clear it, because you can, if you look over here, you can kind of see the corner of my tank there, what's been scratching right there, where I've been trying to put it in now. So we got some more work to do, and we haven't gotten to the electrical yet. But you know what? A lot of this could absolutely be done so much faster if we'd have known all this. So if you're gonna do this and you don't have to relocate battery, if you got a standard Sportsman, it's gonna be way easier. No battery relocate, and just that one corner. You do gotta take the one corner out, but then your tank will fit. So you'd you'll better out. But if you do have one of the two-seaters or like the dump bed like I do, this still, I think, I mean, I'm over 10 hours in this. I think I could have cut that in half had I known what I know now. So this is good, right? That's why we're figuring out. So let's get to cutting. Okay, we got it. That got cut and ground down even further. So quite a bit lower than this one. If you end up having to do this and this works, it's just about down to the bottom of the hole, the cutout for the screw. But not really any further back. Definitely not as far back as this notch here, because the case kind of widens right here. So I don't want to go any narrower than that for fear of structural integrity. So let's see if the tank fits now. I hope so. It smells like gas, as you couldn't imagine. Oh, it's not hitting. It is not hitting. Hold on. Can you see that? It is not hitting, and that is pulled all the way over. Oh my gosh, that is wonderful. So, oh, and also see how it's not hitting now the angle bracket or the bolt head? It was hitting those before. I wonder if you can see that. Hold on, let me get better light, because this is important. So it was hitting those before, and now it appears as though it's not. I still don't feel like the tank's going in all the way though, but this ain't hitting anything. So now I'm like, what else is not going in? Oh, okay, did you see that? That moved the tank back. See how when I push this, it moves the tank back? Does it do it instantly? Yep. Okay, so I'm still actually hitting something. Okay, let me show you a little recap of where we're at and what we've learned. So we've got the grinding done. It does just fit. Check this out. I'm pretty happy with the way this came out, if you can see in there. So I even took some sandpaper and a file and kind of polished this. I know it doesn't matter. I know you can't see it, but I just really like having things finished. I don't like leaving them like halfway. So let's enough of that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So when you come in here, what we had to do, if you remember, this bracket initially came all the way to the top, this bolt post, and this one was notched out from the factory. So this is pretty well matched to what this one was. We matched this one and to what that one was, and now that clears. Now this is really important because if you have a standard Polaris Sportsman, at that point, you're done, you're good. You do not have to go any further. The tank does clear. Again, just match what that factory notch out is, and you're good. Now also, this motor shifts, you have a little bit of room here, this shifts back and forth, so you can shift it all the way to this side, and then you got tons of room here, you're cleared. Now, with this model, with the ×2, the problem is that the tank is bigger. So because of that, I ended up having to shift this motor all the way that way, like this pivots, right? So now it's pushed all the way that way. This actually still has clearance, so that's awesome. That's got some clearance right there. But now that angle bracket that we showed you earlier right here, that had to all be taken out. See how we did that? That had to be taken out, and then this had to be brought down even lower than it was from the factory in order to get it in here. Now I've got like literally like an 1/8 inch of clearance right there. So it's very, very tight. It is not a scenario that's gonna give me a lot of room, but that's all we need. It all bolts down tight, so an 1/8 inch I'm comfortable with, so that just gets it in there. So that's a great place to wrap it up right there. I mean, I'm very happy with that. That was, I wasn't sure for a while. I mean, you saw if we were gonna make that happen, but we did, we got it in. So it's an awesome place. So next video is going to be figuring out this battery tray. Like you can see, we've got the battery tray there. We've got that mounted down there nicely, plenty of clearance, but no place for the battery. So I foresee that being our next big challenge is, what do we do with the battery? Where do we mount it? I don't know, but we're making great progress, and the motor is in. That's a big step, so that's cool. So thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to comment so you can get entered to win one of these awesome Built for Battle, or there's plenty of other color and choices in the hats as well, but you can win one. We're gonna get 100 comments from the probably, I think, 3 videos what this is gonna take to get done, and we're gonna hook you up. So thanks for stopping by. It was super cool. I'm really happy with where we're at. This is a great place to call it. Have an awesome rest of your day or evening. Remember, we love you, and we can take you out with the fist bump of friendship. Whoop-ow! That will, oh, summer dust. I can tell the allergies. Hey everybody, I'm Uncle Jake. And nobody makes a kit for it. There's a company called superatv.com. I screwed it up again. Son of a biscuit. I don't know if that close is a closeness. That's so close I could like fix my hair. Something for your ears.
That's your thumbnail.